Hello everyone, my name is Emil Havranek. Thanks for joining us today on this webinar. I'm going to walk you through our application. As you can see, I have already started the application, and right now we are finding ourselves in the simulation environment. You can see the mannequin itself in front of me, and then you also can see the menus. This is the main menu, in which you can navigate through either by swiping or by pressing gently these buttons. You do not have to press anything, just I'm using the controller right now, but you can also use hands, just pressing these buttons. Anyway, so when we start with the basic menu, you can see that on the first site you have the possible scenarios which are currently installed. You have the possibility of tutorial. We can turn it on, and then another menu pops up, and this basically guides you through everything that you need to know. Now I'm just going to point out that in order to see everything, you need to increase the size of the menu. You can do that by pressing these buttons. So I hold the menu with my one hand, and then with the other hand I can increase the size of the menu. And now you can clearly see the basics, how to grab stuff with controllers, how to use hands, the menu itself, how to navigate, about the pop-ups, settings, limbs. So everything is in here, and if you download this application, I highly recommend going through the tutorial, which will recommend you how to interact in this environment, how to interact with the cases and with the mannequin. So I'm going to turn off the tutorial, and I'm going to continue with the menu. And here you can see an option to switch to AR mode, which we're not going to do today, but it's an option, and the application will then track a human being, which we currently don't have in here with us right now. If we continue to the next site, you can see the possible base positions which you can select. So right now you can see our mannequin is standing, and if I decide, let's say I want her on all fours, I'll press this button, wait a couple of seconds, and you can see that our mannequin has moved to our desired position. These buttons at the bottom of the screen are meant only for the scenarios to be used, so they're not relevant right now in this kind of like a free trial mode, or just a mode where we can interact freely with the mannequin. If we then move to the next part of the menu, you can select different rooms. So currently we're in the room number 2. We can now select a different environment. As you can see, this is a different environment compared to room number 2. We can also select no room. Now we're just going to have the mannequin in here. And in all of the cases, we can also select the video pass-through. This means I'm not going to be in the virtual reality per se, but this is just going to add the mannequin within the room where we are right now. I'm going to turn it off. And the other important thing which we have in here is the scenario editor, which allows you to create your own scenarios. We will go through this later on, but as for right now, just so you know, it's also possible to build your own scenario based on your ideas. Now the last part shows you the colors of the rings. Now if we look closer, and here I'm going to bring my menu with me, you can see that here in the pelvis you have rings which denote the pelvic inlet and pelvic outlet. Now, when I move the leg around, you can see the colors are changing. This is based on, you can also see the bones are moving. And this is based on how we set the mechanics of the pelvis using the theory of nutation and counternutation. So if the pelvic outlet right now is closing, you can see that it's going towards the red, and if it would be opening, I'm going to exaggerate it, it's going to be going closer to the green color. You can redefine these colors. You can see this is open, half open, neutral, half closed, and this one would be closed. You can define your own colors, and if you decide that you do not like your own colors, you just preset the reset button and it gets back to what we set in the very beginning. Now this is it for the main menu. These are the main parts of the menu which you will need. And you might have seen another menu which showed up in here. If you do not have any scenarios selected, it will show you the current version of the program. And once you start a scenario, which we will do shortly, you will have the patient information on this page. See, you can have three different parts of the information, including, for example, a picture of a CTG. Okay, now if we proceed to choosing a scenario, we can start with, let's say, nutation. There's another pop-up menu which shows, and this is supposed to guide you what the next steps in the scenarios are. So now it tells you to select appropriate position for the current case from the menu. Now it is important for the student or for the user to first read about the case. So in here we have the full information about this particular patient. We can also check the CTG, which is normal. And based on this, we are supposed to choose the desired base position. So we're now going back to our menu and we will decide what we want to do with the patient based on the information which we have in here. I may decide that I want the patient to be standing. I click on standing. Now I will wait. And I hear this noise, which tells me I have selected a correct position. Which again brings up the pop-up menu, which tells me to adjust the limbs of the patient to influence the pelvis. Now the program works in a way where the correct position is based off of the pelvis. So again, the principles of nutation and counter-nutations are applied in our case. So we will now try to adjust the position of the limbs. Okay, so I may decide I want the patient to squat. So I will start with adjusting of the limbs. Now it is important when you move the limbs around to always hold two joints at the same time. So I will hold the knee and the ankle joint, and now I can move the whole leg. This is much better than just holding one joint. All right, so I'm going to adjust it slightly, and now I can move the whole pelvis down, and you can hear that I adjusted the limbs correctly. You can see that now the pelvic outlet is opened. This is what we desired. And now it tells us to press fast forward to observe the fetus to move. So we're going to do just that on our main menu. As I told you right now, these buttons become relevant. So again, it tells us to press fast forward. And now we can watch the fetus to move, because we have successfully used the principles behind this case, which was principles of nutation. Okay, now fetus has turned into final position, and we can start from the beginning again if we want to. Okay, so we will reset the case. Okay, now the case has been restarted. As you can see, again, we have the same information about the patient. Yet again, we need to increase the size of the menu if we want to see the full information. And now you know that standing is the correct base position. But what happens if I choose an incorrect one? Let's say I'm going to choose birthing ball. Sometimes you need to wait a bit longer for the patient to choose the position which you select from the menu. Okay, now since this was a wrong position for this specific scenario, you did not hear the sound as you did before. Additionally, you cannot move the limbs anymore. This is both to show the student that this position is incorrect. Now, if I were to select the correct position again, now you can hear the voice, the beep, which tells me that this position is correct. And again, I see the next step, that I should adjust the limbs of the patient to influence the pelvis. Okay, but sometimes you can see the student struggling with the mannequin, even though they selected the correct adjustment of the limbs. So let's again try to adjust the pelvis. I'm going to make the patient squat. You see that now I think I am in correct position, but I don't hear the beeping sound telling me that this is correct. But you can see that the student actually is doing what was intended, and that the student is thinking about it correctly. Now, for these cases, we have a button force complete, which then recognizes this position as correct. So if you see something like this happening, you just tell the student to press force complete. And now a pop-up tells me that the limbs were adjusted correctly and that I should press the fast forward to observe the fetus move. So I'm going to go ahead, press fast forward, and yet again I can see the fetus move through the pelvis. Perfect. Okay. Now I can either again reset the case or I can choose another case. So this is basically the most important part of the whole application. And now I'm going to show you two more things which might be useful for you, and that's navigation or changing the position of the patient. You can use the red square to change the position of the patient with the bed within the room. And also, if you do not like how the room itself is positioned, you can press and hold the meta button and the room resets. If I want to change it based on my boundaries within the room I am at right now, I can turn around somewhere else and press and hold, and the room resets. Okay, in this last part, we're going to show you how to create your own scenario. So in the menu, you will have to go to the scenario editor. Just go ahead and press it. And another menu pops out. Here you have the option to either edit an already existing scenario or create a new one. So we're going to start by adding a new case. And you can see in the left upper corner that currently we will be editing case ID 6. So it's always important to see which case you're editing right here. And in case you already have a case created and just want to edit it, you would have to go to the menu and select it in the menu, right? So for example, I would like to edit this scenario. Now I can see I'm editing this specific scenario. However, our scenarios are not possible to edit. You can only really edit the scenarios which you have created by yourself. So I'll go back to the scenario number 6. That's the one we are going to be editing to showcase you how to do it. And once this is selected, you just swipe right and follow the instructions which are defined here in the right corner of the screen. Okay, so first we have to define the start condition of the case. We have to select the starting position of the woman. So which position will be the one that the students will see at the very beginning. Let's say we will have position on all fours. Okay, so this is our starting position. Next, we will adjust the limbs as we see fit. All right. So for the starting position, I can move the pillow somewhere else and I can move the legs like this. Okay. Or I will do something else. Perfect. So this will be my starting position. Next, I will have to bring the fetus into the initial position. If you look here, you can see the fetus has a red square on it. So you can hold the fetus touching this button and place it into any position which you desire. So I decided to put the baby into occiput posterior position. You can also adjust the limbs of the baby as you see fit. And let's say you do not like the position of the limbs of the baby right now. So it's very easy. You can reset it right here. Reset. and the baby is back to the base position. I can do the same for the woman, but I do not want to because let's say I like the current position, which would be the starting position. Okay, next thing which would be possible to do is adding a text. So this would be the patient information panel. You can add information about the patient, about the delivery, and you can also add images like, for example, CTG. This part is much easier to edit with a computer. So not within the application, but once you attach the glasses to the computer, you can access a file folder where you will be then able to paste files with the correct case ID name, and then it will appear right here. Okay. Once we're happy with the starting phase, we will proceed to the next phase. Now we will have to select the position, which will be the valid position, meaning that position is our aim for students to choose. Again, we will have to go to the menu and select the desired position. Okay, I'll select kneeling, for example. And you can also adjust the starting position of the pelvis if you want to, but I'm not going to do it right now. I'm happy. This is sort of a neutral position, so I'm happy as it is at this moment. And I will just proceed to the next phase. Again, I could adjust the limbs if I wanted to, but for right now I will just keep it as it is. I'll hit the next phase, and in this phase we will be adjusting the final position of the limbs where we want our students to put the limbs into. So let's say I want the students to do something like this. Now, do not rate my positioning skills. This is really just for you to see how the application works. Okay, so now I have the limbs in the position where I want the students to put it. However, this is not all that you have to do. In order for the application to work correctly, you will have to adjust the pelvis as well. So in here, we're working with opening up the pelvic inlet. And by adjusting these two parameters, we will be able to open or close the pelvic inlet and outlet. You can now see it moving, and we can adjust both parts of the pelvis. So I'll just go ahead and max it out. And now you can see that the pelvic inlet is opened, outlet is closed. Perfect. In here, you can also adjust to which extent it's possible for the students to deviate from your desired position, and to which extent will the app accept it as a correct position. Alright, I'll just hit save so that we do not lose our data so far, and I'll proceed to the next phase. Additionally, you can add an alternative. So you can add multiple paths in which the students can arrive to the final correct position. Okay, in this last phase, you can set the movement of the fetus. So now you can see the fetus is sort of flickering because that is also showing the base position. Again, you will be grabbing the red square and adjusting the baby into the position which you would like. I'll just keep it like this. Perfect. I'll hit save. And that should be it. You can try it out, how the baby moves. And it moves nicely into the position where I want it to. So we're going to test out the scenario itself. Before you are able to fully test it, you will need to exit the application. So I'm going to go quit. And I will start it again. Now you can see our case number 6 in the menu. So I will start it. We can see the pop-ups going, telling us to select the appropriate position, which is going to be kneeling. You can hear the sound that we were correct, and now we need to adjust the limbs of the patient. Perfect, you heard the sound. Limbs adjusted correctly. Press fast forward. And now we can observe the fetus to move. And we have successfully created our own scenario. So thank you very much for listening to my presentation, and I will very gladly answer any of your questions.